Joining me now to discuss this, TalkTV's international editor Isabel Oakeshott and head of policy at the Centre for Education and Youth, Baz Ramallah. Thank you both for joining me. Let's start with you, Isabel. This is Katharine Birbalsingh's school. We all know that she is a headmistress who is very unusual in this country and has a great deal of coverage at all times. Many people are great fans of her work. Other people feel that she's draconian in her imposition of discipline. Can you explain why you think the school has an anti-prayer ritual policy, Isabel?
Well, Katharine Birbalsingh has been tremendously articulate in her own explanation for the reasons for not allowing Muslim students to have a particular space set aside for them to follow their ritual prayer sessions. On the one hand, on a very simple level, there is a practical obstacle to this. The Michaela School, I've been fortunate enough to visit. It is on a very restricted site. It's an inner city school, very limited building, really. They don't have tremendous sports facilities or indeed really any extra space for anything discretionary. But that's really very marginal relative to the bigger reason and justification for the school's policy on this. And that is all about inclusivity, which is sort of paradoxical because the student who brought the case against the school, by the way, using some £150,000 worth of taxpayer money, did so on the grounds of inclusivity. She argued that not allowing Muslim students to disappear periodically during the day to pray made them somehow feel excluded. Katharine Birbalsingh's point, and one that the judge wholeheartedly accepted, is that in order to hold that unique school together, because it is an absolute melting pot, there are children of all faiths and none who attend that school, she does not want students segregating on religious lines. She doesn't want groups of students who are of one faith or another having separate and different rules. And everybody who signs up to go to the school knows that's the deal. They know that before they join. It's made very, very plain. So quite why this student saw fit to continue being at the school, knowing that this was the school's clear policy, frankly, I find very strange. And I do think it has been a tremendous abuse of taxpayers' money.
Let me bring Baz into the discussion. Baz, how usual or unusual is it, would you say, for Muslim pupils to want to observe a prayer ritual and to leave the classroom to pray or to pray in a different room during break or whatever is necessary?
I think this is the really key thing when it comes to this story is that, absolutely we should respect the ruling of the court here. But what we definitely shouldn't do is generalize from Michaela to other schools and start thinking that we can't have both social cohesion and great exam results in the school, as well as pupils being able to practice their faith in that same school. Because the fundamental fact is that thousands of schools across the country manage to have all three of those things. And if Michaela is interested, then there is a lot that they could learn from those schools in terms of being able to create space while maintaining their ethos for pupils to be able to practice their faith. So it's absolutely very common, Vanessa, and lots of schools get this right.
And how in practice does it work? Because I mean, I'm from a Jewish family, Jewish background, and at my school, on certain days of the week, we had Jewish prayers. So there would be a mainstream prayers, which I suppose were ideologically Christian prayers, and the Jewish girls would all troop off to a different room upstairs and, I don't know, sing a few songs and kind of have a good gossip and be quite pleased to miss out on the other prayers. And prayers were at the same time and they were all over. Everybody got on with their schoolwork for the rest of the day. But Muslim prayer ritual is a bit more repetitive, a bit more demanding, and occurs more often than just one prayer at the beginning of the day. So how does it work in terms of not separating pupils off from other pupils?
Well, let's be really clear. I'm not familiar with any cases of Muslim pupils leaving lessons in order to go and pray, particularly en masse whatsoever. What typically tends to happen in schools that are in areas which have a high Muslim population, or indeed schools that have Muslims, is that they have a multi-faith prayer room, possibly more than one, which is used by pupils of all faiths to pray as in relation to their faith. And this is done at prescribed times, for example, break time, lunchtime, before school, after school. This isn't something about pupils leaving schools. And also, this is also a ritualized process which for Muslims does not take a long time. It only takes a few minutes. Young people are able to do their prayer rituals, and then proceed with the rest of wider school life. So lots of schools are able to do this and are able to do it in a way where it aligns with the social cohesion myself and Isabel want in schools, as well as making sure young people are able to get great exam results.
So let me finish with Isabel. Isabel, do you assume and hope that this message now will percolate and permeate among other schools, or do you think Katharine Birbalsingh and her school, the Michaela, is a unique and most particular establishment? And as Baz says, you know, Muslim ritual prayers will be said by children all over this country in different schools. This ruling won't mean much apart from at that school.
Well, I do think it is a landmark ruling, an incredibly important one. And I was very concerned that if it had not gone the right way, then we would have lost Michaela School effectively. I think Katharine Birbalsingh might have felt she didn't want to continue, and who could blame her? I did slightly bristle at the suggestion that Michaela should learn from other schools. I would turn that right the way round and say that this is an outstanding school. It gets on average much better GCSE results than any other schools. It also consistently gets the highest level of change in progress, you know, attainment differential. So I don't think Michaela needs to take any lessons from anyone else. Quite the reverse. I think other schools should learn from Michaela. It is an extraordinary institution, and I think Katharine Birbalsingh has given tremendous selfless leadership under unbelievable pressure.
Thank you both very much indeed.